Alrighty guys, this is snugsonblitz and I'm back with another video for you today. I have two games for you today in this tank, the WZ Tier 9 Tank Destroyer thingamajiggy. I always forget his name, so who cares? It's not important, because that's not what the topic of this video is. The first game, I'm just a little bit wild and crazy, I just push in aggressively, and I thought you'd maybe get a kick out of it, so I thought I'd share it with you. And the second game, I will talk a little bit about the gameplay, but mainly I just wanted to share it with you because in some ways it made me have to make this video because I see certain tanks being played together in certain tiers, and played together, they are very strong tanks to deal with. Just one of them on the battlefield can be tough, but two of them even tougher. In a platoon, triply tough. If they're on voice chat, quadruply tough. So there are certain tanks that some people have just figured out, hey, if we run these together, we can do pretty well. Even though we're only 46% players normally in most tanks, if we run these two tanks together, we can get up to 60%, 65%. And there was a word for it a long time ago, and it was called a seal clubber. Nowadays, it's a little harder to seal club, but there are tanks that if you see them being platooned together, you know that you're in for, well, a rough ride because they probably know what they're doing. If I see a platoon of, let's say, a T-20 and, I don't know, an AMX 46, I think that's what it's called in Tier 7, I'll be like, oh, that's a crappy platoon. They don't really know what they're doing. Now, they could be great players. They could be trying things out, but I would bet my bottom dollar they're probably not good players because neither tank is strong, and yeah, they're going to struggle, I think. On the flip side, if I see, for example, a Tiger P and a Tiger 1, I would think, these guys know how to choose tanks that work well together, generally speaking. So I'd be more afraid of that platoon. Anyway, this is just something I've learned from my years of experience playing Blitz, and this is what I've noticed on the Asian server. So these are my thoughts of the tanks that get played a lot, and people seem to have cracked the code on these tanks. And I found that, generally speaking, it gives people a big advantage over other players in the game. Not a huge fan of this, but I don't think there's a solution, except I talked about one solution for events that I think could be done. If you want to check out that, you can check out the problem, my video entitled The Problem with Blitz Events, so check that out if you like. But that's not what this video is about. I'm just going to be talking about each tier. If you see a double platoon of this tank, you might want to be a little bit more cautious, not pushing too aggressively against them. But, you know, it's up to you. These are just my thoughts. I figured it might help you, so here I am. Anyway, let's get to the first game. But before we do so, I would like to ask, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's completely free, and it would help me out, really help me out. And of course, comment down below. It helps the algorithm. I do appreciate every comment. I try and answer nearly every one. And if you want to donate to the channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. So, let's get to our gameplay, and then I'll start talking about the OP tanks that work in a platoon. So, we're going to start off in Tier 6. The #1 choice for seal clubbers in Tier 6, I have found, is easily the ARL-44. And why do I say that? Well, the ARL-44 has a solid gun, it's got decent mobility, it's got armor, and it's got hit points. That combination, doubled up, is extremely tough to deal with for most tanks. There's, in fact, no other tank in Tier 6 combined, I think, that can cause as much trouble as those two tanks, because they can go front line, they've got good gun depression. I would say runner-up would be a double Hellcat platoon. Hellcats can be vicious tanks, but they don't have any armor, so they often have to play passive and stay a little bit back. ARLs can go front line and cause all sorts of havoc. So, yeah. Tier 6, ARL #1. #2 would be Hellcats. In Tier 7, I think you know where I'm going with this one. There's no real surprise. In Tier 7, there are two tanks that when you see them platoon together, you know it's not really fair unless the enemy team or your team has a similar platoon. And that is, of course, the Smasher. A double Smasher platoon is, of course, death. 2 shots from those tanks. Pretty much any tank in tier 7 is gone. One shot in tier 6, most tanks are gone. Yeah. So doubling them up is nightmarish. On top of that, you have the double Annihilator platoon. It's got armor, it's got the speed boost, it's got everything going for it. It's got 3 shots that can work together. That's 6 shots coming your way in a matter of seconds. That is one tough platoon to deal with. And lastly, not quite as OP as it once was, but run together. If you see them out and about, chances are they probably know what they're doing. That is a double Drac platoon. Yeah, lovely tank. Definitely a tank you want in your garage, and it is crazy fun. And don't get me wrong, I've done double Annihilator platoons. I've done double Smashers. I've played them, but I don't spam them. I don't. I take them out every now and then just for a little silly fun. Other people, they've racked up, 8,000 battles in the Smasher, 7,000 battles in the Annie, and 5,000 in Drac. I'm like, come on. In contrast to that, they have 45 battles in the SP1C and 30 battles in the T25AT. Come on. Yeah, there's something, I don't know, not right about those people. But, whatever. It's their choice, right? Just my feeling. Anyway, moving on to Tier 8. And starting off the list, well, no surprise, a double Shark platoon. Oh, goodness me. Mobility, armor, solid gun. Yeah, together, they're a nightmare to deal with. Number 2 on the list, a double Action X platoon. Also very strong. Not as strong as it once was, thankfully, I guess, for the rest of the players, but still a very strong tank. Nonetheless. Oh, and here we are on our second game, and as you can see, look at the enemy team. We'll be talking about that in a second, because we'll get there. That's tier 9. What do they got? A double Object 752. That's 4 shells combined together to make your life a living hell. But anyways, back to tier 8. Next tank on my list is the Chimera. Double Chimeras. That's 800 points in a matter of seconds if they hit the same targets. Whew, that's rough. Next one, and we're going now for tech tree tanks, is the Emil. Well, a 3-shot auto loader. Yeah, I mean, together that's 6 shots. They pop one out, shoot, and yeah, death. Anyway, I'm going to A. I don't know what we're going to do in this game. I think we're probably going to lose, and I'm hoping there's nobody at A. But, one shot. Oh my goodness, so they came here, both of them. So I take 2 hits, but I bounce 1, and I bounce 2. So they have fired their shells, and now we just need to push in aggressively to take them out. But the question is, will my team follow my lead? That's a different thing. Okay, luckily, the Object 704, even though he is kind of stock, he does have the guts to push in, which is a big hallelujah. Why? Because he's going to take some hits. And, these guys, they know what they're doing. But thankfully, I know what I'm doing. So, boom, there's 1 shot in there, and I know he's on a reload. So I'm just going to stop him from moving, let my team punish him from the rear or front or whatever, and we should be able to take him out. We've already taken his buddy out. So, nice. And I don't care, I've only got how many hit points left. Yeah, I bled. So did the Object 704. Yeah. But we took out their 2 deadliest tanks. So good job, team. I mean, honestly. Anyway, back to my list. So I just talked about the Emil. The other one is the 53 TP. It's not a tank you might think is that strong, but the problem is they have tungsten shells. Their armor is very solid, and they're quite mobile, so they can get in strong hull-down positions. They double up those tungsten shells. That's, I don't know, what is it, 450, 500 with 1 shell? That's 1,000 gone. So it's like a Chimera in a heavy tank. So it's got better armor than a Chimera. That's crazy. If they know what they're doing, most tanks will struggle against them. So, the 53 TP. Definitely not napalm tank. Tier 9, as I just said, there's really only one seal clubbing tank in Tier 9. In my opinion, and that's the Object 752. Why? 2 shells come together, they fire their 4 shells, they can do 1,200 damage, no more. It's about 1,600 damage in one barrage of shots. So, crazy. You're gonna see the stats of these guys later, so we'll talk about that. Anyway, moving on to Tier 10, and in Tier 10, there are a few tanks that I would consider seal clubbing tanks, where 65% players want to guarantee the win. They're not going to take out a double platoon of 1-2-1s, probably. They're good tanks, but if they're doing it just for fun, that's fine. But if they want to win for the event, no. What they're going to take out first of all is going to be the TVP. They have 4 shells. I mean, it's so fast, it's agile. Yeah, absolutely deadly tank. Another tank that has 4 shells, of course, is FV4005. If you see a double platoon of them, you also have to be concerned, but not so much as the TVPs, because they can get out of trouble much more easily. The FV4005 is as big as a whole house, so everyone can hit it in HE to high heaven. So I wouldn't say that's quite a seal clubbing tank. Can be very deadly though, I get it, but to me it's the TVP that you have to worry about. The next tank that you have to worry about if you see them together, 2 T-57s. Now, let's get back to this game here. If we take a look at the stats of the 2 Object 752s, let's take a quick look. See, yeah, seal clubber. Yeah, for sure. And if you take a look at stats, it's quite obvious. And his buddy, seal clubber number 2. People don't just have 1,000 games and suddenly are 70% players. It just doesn't happen. So what they've done is they've played another account, they've got very good at certain tanks, and then they start another account and just buy a few tanks and play them and have amazing stats in them. Easy to do when you know what you're doing and you get preferential matchmaking and all that jazz. So yeah, I think it's so cheesy, but it is what it is. Other tanks quickly, I want to give a shout out. I mean, the Yo is the same as the T-57, 6 shots coming your way in a double platoon. 2 tanks played well. They are extremely tough to beat. 2 IS-4s or 2 Type 71s because of their armor profile. Just they can take so many hits and cause so many problems for enemy teams. 2 60 TPs, they're also very tough to deal with, although they do have the ammo rack weakness. It's the tungsten shells and that gun that's just so devastating. And then lastly, I would say a double platoon of Cravs. Why? You can almost not pen them in certain positions. You have to use HE, not do much damage, and you've got 6 shells coming your way. And if they're smart, they take turns. One person goes up, fires 1 shot, maybe 2nd shot, the other person moves up, 1 shot, 2 shot, and they just kind of back and forth, and so you kind of lose track on who's shooting you, which is clever, and it can be done with a 57 as well, and the Yo, but the thing is, people know that they have to fire 3 shots and you're done, whereas the Krav has the auto reloading system, which allows it to be a little bit sneakier. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Yeah, if you're not a great player and you're playing Tier 6 or you're still just grinding the tanks, watch out in Tier 6 if you see a double platoon of ARLs. I think that's the most common seal clubbing tank in Tier 6. As you get better, it's not so much an issue, but still, I just hate it when people spam these tanks over and over and over again. And for these events, these are the tanks you're going to see over and over and over again. And nearly always, they choose the same tanks. They don't mix and match. It's not a shark and a chimera. It's 2 sharks. It's 2 TVPs. It's 2 ARLs. It's 2 smashers. Why? They go together. They focus fire. They have the same angles and things like that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all I got for you. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. Any other double platoons that you think are just hellish to deal with. I don't know. Not much we can do about it, but I just thought I'd let you guys know. Anyway, with that, I'll see you next time. Snugsonblitz, out.